Every second, nearly 7,000 Goldfish crackers come out of the oven, but only some of them are allowed to smile. So who decides which Goldfish gets the smile? If you ever opened a lunchbox and saw those tiny orange fish,
That's a flavor blaster!
you probably never wondered why only a few of them grin back at you. Behind that simple smile is a steel line that cuts, stamps, and bakes tens of thousands of crackers in minutes. Let's explore how this cultural icon is made. Goldfish crackers began in Switzerland in the late 1950s when baker Oscar Cambly created a small fish-shaped biscuit as a gift for his wife, who was born under the Pisces sign. A few years later, Margaret Rudkin, the founder of Pepperidge Farm, saw the product during a visit and decided to bring it home to the United States. She believed the tiny fish could fit American snacking habits, from school lunches to afternoon breaks. Goldfish soon became a part of childhood memories across the country and even traveled with astronauts on early space missions. This quiet rise from a local bakery item to a familiar pantry snack raises a new question for viewers today. How does a design born in a small Swiss kitchen turn into billions of identical crackers made inside a modern factory? The process begins with a constant flow of flour arriving from storage silos in the mixing area. Lab technicians test samples before production to check moisture levels and protein content, which helps control how the crackers puff in the oven. Real cheddar cheese arrives in heavy blocks that workers cut open for inspection. They check the color, the aroma, and the way a small piece stretches under heat. Only blocks that meet these standards move forward. Smaller parts of salt, yeast, sugar, and oil are measured by digital systems that keep each batch within a narrow range. A plain white bag of seasoning, known on the floor as a blind bag, is added without any label. It holds a blend designed to support the cheddar flavor. All these ingredients move toward the industrial mixer, where the dough will start to form. The mixing step begins with flour dropping into a large mixer that looks like a horizontal steel barrel. Automated valves release oil, yeast, salt, and sugar into the drum in a fixed order that keeps the dough structure stable. Real cheddar follows next as small cubes fall through a chute and land on the growing pile inside the mixer. Each batch weighs around 1,500 pounds and mixes for about 10 minutes. Sensors mounted on the mixer wall watch temperature and dough resistance, which gives staff a clear picture of how the batch is forming. When the dough reaches the right texture, workers guide it into a moving conveyor. The dough then enters a warm fermentation room, where it rests for about 5 hours. The yeast becomes active and releases carbon dioxide that gets trapped inside the dough. These tiny pockets of gas help create the familiar light crunch of the finished cracker. The room stays at a steady temperature to keep the fermentation consistent from batch to batch. With the dough now full of air and ready for shaping, a new challenge appears. How can the factory turn a heavy mass of dough into thin, even sheets without tearing them? The dough enters a long steel line where 16 rollers press it thinner at each step. The first rollers flatten the dough into a wide sheet. Later rollers shape it more precisely, creating a uniform thickness across the entire surface. A dusting of dry flour covers the belt and keeps the dough sliding smoothly. Once the sheet reaches a controlled thickness, the lamination stage begins. The machine folds and stacks several layers of dough on top of each other and presses them again. This helps form the tiny air pockets that give Goldfish their crisp texture. Laminated dough is stronger and less likely to break as it travels toward the cutting area. The sheet then moves into a separate chamber set for controlled humidity. A pattern roller meets the dough as it leaves the resting chamber. This roller holds rows of tiny metal molds shaped like fish, each pressing down to cut out clean lines. Only about 40% of the fish include the familiar smile. The rest show a simple plain face. Cut pieces remain inside the large sheet as it moves forward. A salt shower sprinkles a fine layer across the surface. The remaining frame of dough will be removed and recycled later. The sheet then heads towards the oven opening. The oven extends more than 300 feet in length, making it longer than a football field. Now the line must prepare the baked crackers for flavoring and packaging. What steps help these small fish travel safely from the oven to the final bag? Cooling begins on a set of long conveyors arranged across several levels. Cool air flows over the crackers to remove heat without drawing out too much moisture. The goal is to make each cracker firm enough for packaging while keeping the texture crisp. Part of the batch goes directly to the packaging area as original flavor. The rest enters large rotating drums, where dry seasonings coat the crackers. Some drums produce classic cheddar, others mix stronger blends such as Frank's Red Hot or Old Bay. The number of available flavors has grown over the years and now includes dozens of options. Printed film for the bags arrives in large rolls and feeds into a forming machine that shapes and seals the pouches. Automatic scales drop the correct weight of crackers into each bag, including mixed color batches for special packs. Finished bags move to a case packing zone, where robotic arms arrange them into cartons. Pallets leave the line and travel towards storage or shipping docks. These pallets will soon reach supermarkets around the country. That journey closes the process that began with a simple bowl of flour and a block of cheese. Millions of ding-dongs roll off factory lines each week, moving through ovens and coating tunnels at speeds most people never imagined. Each small cake must rise, cool, and fill with cream in a controlled sequence that leaves almost no room for error. Even a slight change in moisture or temperature can affect how the chocolate coating settles on the surface. Many viewers grew up seeing these cakes in lunchboxes, vending machines, or gas station shelves. Yet few know what happens inside the steel mixers and tunnel ovens that shape them. So how does a simple round snack stay consistent across thousands of batches every day? Ding dongs first appeared in American grocery stores in the late 1960s, when snack cakes were becoming a quick option for school lunches and factory break rooms. The product began as a small round chocolate cake that carried a simple idea: a light sponge base, a soft cream center, and a smooth outer coating. Early ads used the sound of a ringing bell, which helped give the cake its name and made it easy to remember. In some regions, The cake was sold under different names because of trademark issues, but the shape and formula stayed the same. Production briefly stopped in 2012 when the original Hostess company shut down. Yet the snack returned a year later, after the brand was purchased and the bakeries reopened. Many viewers grew up seeing these foil-wrapped cakes in lunchboxes and vending machines. The process begins inside a large mixing room, where dry and liquid ingredients move through separate holding tanks. Flour, sugar, and cocoa powder drop from overhead silos into a stainless steel mixer that can hold hundreds of gallons at once. Pumps feed water, oil, and emulsifiers into the drum in a fixed order that keeps the batter smooth. Sensors track batter temperature and thickness as the paddles turn at a steady speed. The goal is to create a batter that is light enough to expand, but strong enough to hold a cream center. Workers check small samples to confirm color and texture before the batch is released, and finished batter flows through pipes toward the depositing line, where the cakes begin to take shape. Depositing starts when the batter reaches a row of automated machines that drop precise amounts into round baking molds. Each mold holds a single ding-dong base and moves forward on a long conveyor. The molds then enter a tunnel that stretches between 60 and 100 feet. Heat inside the first zone helps the cakes rise as air bubbles expand in the batter. The middle zone finishes the bake by bringing the centers to the correct temperature. The final zone begins cooling so the cakes do not collapse when they leave the oven. Air circulates constantly to keep the temperature stable across the line. The baked cakes then travel toward the cooling system. How do these warm cakes cool fast enough to receive cream without melting it? Cooling begins on a spiral conveyor that climbs several levels inside a tall enclosure. Fans blow filtered air across the cakes as they circle upward and downward for 10 to 20 minutes. The spiral design saves floor space and increases the time the cakes stay in motion. Once the cakes reach a safe temperature, they move toward the filling station. The cream mixture is prepared in a separate mixer using sugar, shortening, stabilizers, and vanilla flavor. The mixer whips the ingredients into a light texture that can be pumped through hollow needles. Workers test the cream by checking how it flows under pressure. Proper flow helps ensure an even center in every cake. This mix stands ready as the cooled cakes line up below the injector. At this point, many viewers may wonder about the next step. When each cake looks identical from the outside, how does the factory add the right amount of cream inside the center? The filling station uses a row of steel needles that rise through the openings in the conveyor. Each needle enters the cake from the bottom and injects an exact dose of cream. The motion happens in less than a second as the conveyor keeps moving. The cake then passes over a sensitive scale that measures the total weight. Any cake that falls outside of the approved range is removed before it can reach the coating area. This weight check is important because the cream represents a large part of the final product. The injector system also cleans itself at regular intervals to prevent buildup inside the needles. A small sample of cakes is cut open by quality staff to confirm that the cake sits in the proper location. With the centers complete, the line now prepares for the outer layer that gives ding-dongs their familiar look. So how did the cakes receive a smooth and even chocolate coating without slowing the conveyor? The coating stage begins with large tanks that melt the chocolate glaze and hold it over controlled temperature. Heating coils inside the tanks keep the mixture fluid enough to cover every surface. The filled cakes move into an enrobing machine, where a curtain of liquid chocolate pours down from above. Each cake passes under this curtain while a second flow covers the bottom. Excess chocolate drains through a mesh belt and returns to the tank through a filter. Air knives blow a soft stream of air across the cakes to remove extra coating and even out the surface. The coated cakes then enter a long cooling tunnel, kept at a steady low temperature. Cold air firms the glaze, so the cakes can be wrapped without sticking. The smell of warm chocolate fills the area as the line continues forward. Once the coating is set, the cakes reach the final stage of their journey. What steps help each cake stay fresh as it leaves the factory? Wrapping begins when the cooled cakes reach a machine that cuts and seals individual foil packs. The wrapper forms a tight seal that keeps air out and protects the chocolate surface. Finished cakes fall into channels that guide them into counting units. Groups of cakes move into cardboard boxes, which are sealed and labeled for distribution. Robotic arms lift the boxes and stack them on pallets in uniform layers. Forklifts then move the pallets to loading docks, where trucks carry them to supermarkets, gas stations, and vending machine suppliers across the country. Around 25 million Ferrero Rocher chocolates are produced in a single day, moving through mixing tanks, wafer ovens, and coating lines in a sequence that looks almost like a gold-wrapped assembly dance. Each piece contains several layers, yet the entire process takes only a few hours from start to finish. According to company figures, the factory handles hazelnuts at a scale that reaches thousands of tons each year, making it one of the largest hazelnut users in the world. Many viewers know the shiny gold foil from holiday tables or gift boxes, but few have seen how each sphere forms its thin shell and creamy center. So how does a simple hazelnut become the heart of a multi-layer chocolate sold in more than 100 countries? Ferrero Rocher began in Italy in the early 1980s, during a period when European confectionery brands were exploring new ideas for layered chocolates. The Ferrero family had already created popular products like Nutella and Kinder, but they wanted a chocolate that looked elegant and carried a clear identity. Michel Ferrero led the development of a spherical treat built around a whole hazelnut, a light wafer shell, and a smooth chocolate filling. The company chose gold foil to signal quality and to help the product stand out in stores. This design later became a symbol of holiday gifting in many countries. The name Rocher was inspired by a famous grotto in Lourdes, which Ferrero visited often. The idea of a hidden center matched the structure of the chocolate itself. As demand grew, the company expanded production in Europe and later in North America. By the 1990s, Ferrero Rocher had become a familiar part of Christmas displays across the United States. Many people share the same memory of opening the clear plastic box and peeling back the gold wrapper before tasting the crunchy shell. Today, the product is one of the most recognized premium chocolates worldwide. But how does the factory build so many identical layers with such thin and delicate parts? The process starts in the mixing area where flour, water, sugar, and a small amount of fat enter the large stainless steel bowl. The mixer blends these ingredients into a thin batter with a smooth, pourable texture. This batter travels through pipes to a machine that forms hundreds of wafer hemispheres every minute, similar to a household waffle iron, but work at industrial speed. Each portion spreads across a shallow mold and bakes into a crisp dome in just a few seconds. A conveyor lifts the finished hemispheres and carries them to a cooling rack where they harden into a light and fragile shell. Workers monitor color to confirm that each piece bakes evenly and does not burn. This thin wafer layer is important because it keeps the interior creamy without becoming soggy. Once the shells reach the next station, teams prepare for the filling that builds the first inner layer. But how does the factory keep each sphere perfectly round once the fillings start to flow? The filling begins with whole hazelnuts that pass through a sorting line. Knives split the nuts so inspectors can check the color and remove damaged pieces. The good hazelnuts travel into a roasting drum that spins at high heat for several minutes. The heat dries the nuts and intensifies their flavor. After roasting, the nuts cool on a vibrating table, while loose skins fall away. A portion of the nuts will sit at the center of each chocolate, while others will help form a Nutella-like paste. This paste mixes in a large tank with cocoa powder, sugar, skim milk powder, and melted cocoa butter. Mechanical arms scoop the cream into one set of hemispheres, while single nuts drop into another set. A joining machine aligns the two halves and presses them together to form a closed sphere. The sealed wafer balls then move to the coating line. The next step surprises many viewers. How do these fragile wafer balls survive a full dip in warm liquid chocolate without breaking? The wafer spheres move into a coating zone, where warm milk chocolate flows in controlled curtains. Each ball passes through the first layer, which seals the wafer and prepares the surface for texture. Still warm, the spheres roll inside a rotating drum filled with chopped hazelnuts. The nuts cling to the chocolate and create the rough outer crunch. Next, the product receives a smooth second coating. The nut-covered spheres travel on a mesh belt under another curtain of milk chocolate that evens out the shape and builds the familiar round profile. Gentle air jets clear excess chocolate before the line enters a long cooling tunnel. Cold, stable air firms both layers slowly to keep the surface glossy and prevent cracks. By the end of the tunnel, each piece holds its final shape and is ready for packaging. Wrapping begins at high-speed stations, where each sphere drops onto a gold foil square, and the machine folds it tight in one smooth motion. Cameras then scan every piece of torn or loose foil before guiding the chocolates into plastic trays lined with fluted paper cups. Robotic arms seal the boxes, stack them on pallets, and send them to trucks that carry the finished product nationwide. From tiny smiling crackers to cream-filled snack cakes and gold-wrapped chocolates, each product in today's video shows how simple ingredients transform through careful timing, heat control, and high-speed machinery. Goldfish rely on thin laminated sheets and precise baking tunnels. Ding-dongs depend on stable temperatures, spiral coolers, and accurate filling needles. Ferrero Rocher uses fragile wafers, roasted hazelnuts, and multiple chocolate layers to build familiar holiday treats. These production lines look different, yet they share one idea. Every shape, crunch, and texture comes from systems designed to repeat the same result thousands of times a day. Many viewers grew up eating these snacks without ever seeing the steps behind them. Now you know what happens on the other side of the package. If you enjoyed exploring these factory processes, make sure to subscribe to Captain Discovery and tell us which product you want to see in the next episode.